It's very easy to look at a woman who's planning to or has had an abortion and think, how dare you? Maybe this is the one time that they have seen the love of God. And the stories we hear and the trauma that we hear, some women, this is the only time they've ever felt love. One thing you don't realize is meeting with somebody, whether you're a pastor or a counselor or anything, but meeting with people regularly who have so much trauma and have so many hard things, you take on a lot of that trauma. The interesting thing too, I think, in all that is, and I think this can be difficult or an area that the Lord wants to deal with in women, and submission to your husband, all the things. It's very controversial. When I started having babies, I wanted to stay home. I didn't want to work. I wanted to be home with my babies. And that was never a thing. Jason kind of was walking through, especially at that time, was finances. And we got to make sure we have enough. There have been many examples of men who have taken and used their authority and brought harm and hurt, people. And I think that as a result, women have decided, well, it's my right. If I'm not going to protect myself, nobody will. If I'm not going to look out for my own interests, nobody will. My husband sure won't, because so-and-so, and he, I think it can be real easy to say, I have to defend myself. I have to protect myself. I have to make sure that I get what I need.
Danielle Ogle, welcome to the podcast.
I'm a big fan. I've watched them all.
Okay, well,
I finished the last one this morning.
You're actually the first person who came along and said, "Hey, I really like the podcast. I've seen quite a few episodes or whatever."
Yeah.
So
It's really cool.
thanks for the encouragement along the way. I want to dive right into it, and I want to ask you. You probably have, and I don't think this is what you've been known for your entire life, but I think it's a part of your character. You probably have the most high stakes responsibility or job on the planet that I can think of. Whether people choose the path of hope and choices, that they have options, or whether they choose to believe lies of the enemy, human lives actually depend upon you bringing kingdom to bear and options to bear. What is that like?
I think without Jesus in the equation, it can be very high pressure. It's easy to put a lot of pressure on yourself to make sure that the clients that we're meeting with make the right choice or choose life, for their baby, for their little one. And it can be easy to, have one that walks out the door and you're not sure what decision they're going to make, to be really hard on yourself. In fact, we just had our banquet and our nurse was speaking, and I really identified with what she was saying, but she was talking about how a lot of times she finds that after she's met with a client and they kind of are not planning to choose life for their baby, that she can go over and over the conversation in her head. Did I say the right thing? Did I, was I thorough enough? Did I do everything that I was supposed to do? Because it's true. I mean, life hangs in the balance. So it is, but, that's where Jesus comes into the equation for us. It's, if you don't have him, you can run yourself ragged just trying to make sure that you do it all right, which, probably applies to everybody. It's just a little more out there for the
Yours is just hyper-specific, insane stakes on the table.
Mm-hmm.
So who is we and what do you do?
Yeah, so I work at a local crisis pregnancy center called Choices, and it is available to women who are finding themselves in a position that they didn't expect usually, finding that they're pregnant or maybe potentially have STD, sexually transmitted disease or infection, and they don't know what to do and they don't know where to go. Many clients I meet with don't even know the resources that are available to them, and I think that's the main heart of the center that I work at, and the women and the leadership there. Their heart is if they are choosing, so, they have obviously a couple options. They can choose to parent, they can choose to have an adoption situation, or they can choose to have an abortion. Obviously, in the state of Texas, abortion isn't legal, but with anything, people find ways, and our goal, our heart at Choices is, if they're choosing abortion because they don't know, I don't know. There's a lot of women that come in fear because finances are an issue, or resources, material things, what they're going to need for baby. They don't know how they're going to pay for having a baby or the prenatal visits. They don't have insurance. There's like so many things that are barriers and hindrance. And I've talked to many women who their heart's desire is to parent their child, and they don't know how. They don't know how to do that. So I think our main goal, I know there's a lot of opinions out there on this subject, and I know that there are many organizations and places, and they all sometimes take different approaches. But our heart at Choices is, if a woman feels forced to choose an abortion because she doesn't know how she can do it, our goal is to make her aware and be able to provide resources or connect her with resources. There are many women that I've talked to that have come in abortion-minded, and after hearing there's options for you, there's ways, there's, pregnancy Medicaid that'll cover 100% of everything, or we offer, if you don't know how to parent, we offer classes, we have a boutique, we have resources, we'll provide diapers, formula, like all the things, and they walk out like relieved because they felt like that was their only choice. And now they realize, oh, there's help for me. Like, I want to parent. This is something I actually want to do. And now I can see the way. So it's, it's difficult work. Some days are harder than others, but our goal is to love anybody who walks in the door. And when we have somebody who leaves saying, no, I still want to have an abortion, they know when they leave our building that our door is always open if they need to come talk afterward. I talk with many women who have had abortions in the past, and I know they're out there, but I still haven't met one that has said that she would ever do it again. Everyone, even the ones who say, I know it was the right decision that I made at the time, everyone follows that up with, but I won't do that again. I will never do that again. They don't understand the emotional difficulties and the grief that they walk through, and that's so hard. It's really difficult.
That's been something that's kind of surprised me a little bit. I don't know why it would. I know you are a tender-hearted warrior, but in talking with you about saving babies, I can get lost personally. I can get lost in the saving babies aspect of it.
Yeah.
But you have really been a champion for the moms who have made that decision, and they are now grieving the loss of their kid, whether it be 5 years later, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Revisiting that trauma, and you've been such a champion for them.
Yeah. I think it can be such a tricky subject, especially in the church and in Christianity, because it's very easy to, there's two ways, right? It's very easy to look at a woman who's planning to or has had an abortion and think, how dare you murder a child? Which I get that. My goal is for her to not, have an abortion. Like I want God has placed that life in her womb for a time such as this. There's purpose in the life. So I don't downplay that, but it's easy to just get caught up in that aspect and forget that this is a woman who the Lord loves, and to forget that the decision that she's going to make is going to forever affect her. And a lot of times with the women I speak to, they don't even realize the depth and the grief that they walk through after that, and the guilt a lot of times that they live with. Even the ones going in saying, yes, this is the right decision for me at this time. It's just not the right time, all the things. the grief, the women that I've had to talk through, um, it's such a traumatic experience a lot of times on the other side. And so um, I think it's easy for us to get caught up in, oh, how could they, and forget the person that the Lord sees in them and has created them to be. And they may not be walking in the light, but who does 100% all the time? But I think the other side, too, that sometimes we can get a little confused in, and I think it has to do with the fact that there are different organizations that handle things differently. But I think we hear sometimes, oh, well, you keep letting her come back after she did something like that, and think that our love for this woman means that we condone her decision or behavior, which is not the case. And it is a difficult line to ride, the line between completely loving and caring for a woman that comes in our doors and letting her know we don't agree with your decision. Like, how do you do both? And that can be difficult to do sometimes because you don't want to lean so far into grace that that they think that, oh, this is fine, they support me in my decision, but you also don't want to. It's such a tender time for them. It's such a vulnerable state when they come into our doors that sometimes, and it depends on the woman, but sometimes being pushy all in that area can scare them off from maybe their one encounter with the Lord. Like maybe this is the one time that they have seen the love of God. And the stories we hear and the trauma that we hear, some women, this is the only time they've ever felt love. Some come from such a difficult background that they've never seen what true love looks like. They've only seen it distorted. They've only seen manipulation. They've only seen you're just doing this to get something, and so it can be very difficult to reach those women. And every time you walk into the counseling room, you pray and you ask the Lord, what do you want to say? How do I handle this one? Because some need, hey, here's the facts. Like, this is what you're about to do, Some just need grace and love and support. And we've had women who have come through who have chosen to have an abortion, but have come back around on the other side for the support and sought counseling for what they're kind of walking through, and have chosen life the next time because they were like, you're the only person that showed me that love and that grace. And it didn't matter that I went and did something that you didn't think I should do. You were still there for me. And so it's a lot.
Oh, it sounds like a lot of really wonderful, from my perspective, a lot of really wonderful highs and a lot of really wonderful lows, if you could say such a thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I fully understood, and I want to know, the fullness of that experience in your perspective. But I don't think I fully understood what you guys were doing. I heard the stories. I knew that you guys had education. I knew that you guys were allowed to say certain things and not certain things. And there's a nurse on there, and there was sonograms, and like I kind of get the general outlay of it. But you gave me a tour the other day, and you were walking me through the space, and here's where we talk to them about. Here's usually there's a boyfriend or something waiting in the lobby, and just the kind of the intricacies of how it all works out, or a husband or whatever. And then you took me to the puzzle room. If I could bring that up. You guys have a puzzle room. What is that?
Yeah, so I don't know how long it's been now, maybe a little less than a year ago. We had a woman in one of our local churches who is a licensed therapist and counselor and all the things. And she got connected through a pastor that's on our board, and basically comes and meets with us once a week, mostly to kind of offer her services as far as we sit in the room with these women, and there's a lot to decipher, and there's a lot of different trauma backgrounds or maybe mental spaces that they're in. And so she's been teaching us so we can have a better understanding on, okay, if we get this reaction, this is maybe what they're dealing with, or people that have this personality, this is the way they tend to receive information, like learning to better counsel. But in that, she also, of course, is available to talk through hard situations. And every week she's like, well, what has gone on this week? And we share. And it's been really interesting because she has, I think one thing you don't realize is meeting with somebody, whether you're a pastor or a counselor or anything, but meeting with people regularly who have so much trauma and have so many hard things, you take on a lot of that trauma. And making or talking with people and then leaving, making a decision that you feel like is so sad, can be trauma also sometimes. And not to get too much into that, because I already was a little skeptical when she came in. I was like, all right, I'm all about Jesus. So like, I don't want any of this.
I want that counseling nonsense. Give me that Jesus.
Yeah, I don't need therapy. I need Jesus, right? So, but she's amazing. She's very good at balancing the two and using the science of it, but fueled by the Spirit, and it's been amazing. But one thing that she recommended for us was to have things that kind of ground us, or, because I think what is another thing that maybe a lot of people don't understand is our appointments are back to back to back. And so you may come out of a situation where it is all dark and it is so much pain and so much, horrible things that have happened to her. And she may leave saying, no, I'm done. And then your next appointment, you walk in and they're like, we've been trying for years. We're so excited to have this baby. And you have to be present with them and be joy-filled and be like, oh, this is so great. But you've just walked out of darkness and difficulty, and where you just cry sometimes, and so having to go from one appointment to the next back to back can also be difficult. But she talked about different things about, I don't know, there's science behind, being in nature, going for a walk, doing different things. But one thing that we instituted not long after she started talking to us was we have a puzzle room. And so it's a place where when we have especially difficult cases and we're not okay, we can take a break, take a step back from all the, of course, there's medical charting and all the things that you have to do, just to sit for a minute. And I think a lot of times, and just doing a puzzle keeps your hands busy, but I think a lot of times I'm praying and asking the Lord. I mean, that's really, at the end of the day, it's not the puzzle, it's Jesus that you can come and lay it before his feet and, maybe reset a little bit. So
I think it was when we walked by that room and you go, oh, this is the puzzling room. I just feel it. It was like, oh, these people know trauma. They're such with trauma. Yeah. Like you said, it's not about the puzzle. They've figured out a way to keep your hands busy, and we all have to, because if you've counseled anybody through some traumatic life decisions, and they have faced immeasurable odds and maybe have taken some hits along the way, you can't help but kind of take that on just a little bit. And Pastor David taught me something early on, which I hope he passed on to you as well, was we need a spiritual bath, or a little bit of a time to detox afterwards, where we bring things before the Lord and go, all right, I feel heavy still. Like I have connection points. And even if you don't know about it, like you kind of get an opportunity to chill out and go before the Lord and go, oh,
yeah.
What do I need to know? What do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that puzzle set up, I thought, these people are acquainted with the process. They're doing some serious work over here.
Yeah. I think the most difficult part too is that we get an hour, 45 minutes tops with these women, and some will come back for the classes that we offer, or some will follow up, but like really you get, because I think in like a normal counseling setting, there's a relationship that you build and you can build upon. And it's like, I think that it feels like when I'm in the flesh, it feels like there's a lot of pressure. I'm like, I have 1 hour to tell her everything I know about Jesus, which obviously that's not always appropriate. But Just I think that's the reason that we're really big on loving the women that come in the door, because like I said, this may be their only chance at experiencing the love of God. And even if 3 years down the road they look back and, man, that was a place of peace, like I want to know what's going on there. So yeah.
So when you think of the place that you work, which is called Joyce's, do you think of it in terms of joy or in terms of pain?
Joy, for sure. It's funny because I don't know where we were, but we were all around talking about it, and there's a couple of our staff members that mentioned, as soon as they said it, I was like, yes, me too. They were like, as much as we experience here, the woman talking said, this was my first place that I really felt like this is a place of peace. Like, I want to be at work. Like, I want to be there. And it really is true. And I'm sure like you've been there before too, but you walk in and you can just tell. I mean, it just is, the spirit is there for sure, for sure. And that's our goal is, I mean, obviously there's a lot that we have to operate and function in, but our goal is to be, number one, led by the Spirit. We pray every morning before we open our doors and start the day, like for the women that are going to come in.
It's such a fine line that I want people to understand this. So you're allowed, I don't know if it's state rules or what, but there are certain things that you're allowed to say inside of the confines of when you're speaking with a client. But there is an understanding from the organization that this is a faith, like essential piece. Faith is an essential piece of how you guys operate. So when you go in, you're expected to be going in full of the Spirit, full of life, ready to love on the client that's in front of you.
Well, we don't actually take any government funding or anything, so we're not really too limited in that aspect. I think the limits that we put on ourselves are more like kind of case by case, depends on, there are some women that have come in that, we're on the same page, or she's had some kind of background and we're all in talking about Jesus and the whole shebang. There are some women that would be more like sometimes they put up walls and defenses because they've been wounded in the past. And so there are some women that you can sense, or the Lord leads you, that they might shut down at a lot of that, mention about that. So you try to keep it light and try to be led by the Lord in the whole thing. But I think every client, unless we get busy with something or something doesn't go right and I forget, but every client I always ask before we've done all the things, okay, we're all wrapped up, before you leave, can I pray for you? Like, always, every time. And I've only had one or two that are like, no. And if they get that look, the deer in the headlights look on their face, I say, it's okay. If you don't want, that's totally fine. But, most of the ones are glad and tearful and thankful, because I think they're in such a difficult fork in the road in their lives, and they're not sure what decisions they're making are right or wrong. And, I think most are thankful. But it's interesting because we do get some people come in knowing it's a faith-based, clinic. It's in our mission statement if they look at the website. But we have many that feel like, I think they come in with the thought of like, this is a clinic, like you go to the doctor's office. And so when they walk in, our clinic was designed very intentionally. When you walk in and it's like a living room set up and you're like, what is this? Like but it's comfortable and it's homey. And then we take them back to the counseling room. Like you picture a doctor's office, like the table, and you sit with the crunchy paper and all the things. But instead, it's like a couch and a lamp and a stack of books, or, it's meant to put people at ease, to make them feel comfortable, because a lot of them come in full of fear and afraid of where they're at and what's going to happen and what people are going to say. And so I think they're surprised. I've had many that walk in like, oh, this is nice. So I'm like, yeah, that's the goal. But I think that a lot of people come in expecting doctor, nurse, clinic, and we do have nurses on staff, but it's just a different place. And I think that throws them off a little bit sometimes, but then they get to meet Jesus, hopefully, So
nobody is surprised that you are where you are. Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit. You have always lived a life of being on mission. You're probably one of the most nurturing people that I know. So you're kind of mama bear to everybody who comes along. You have your own 4 kiddos, and you have adopted kiddos, but they're not really adopted, not formally adopted.
Yeah.
You have a whole series of young adult kiddos and youths, what used to be youth kiddos.
My babies.
You've adopted folks along the way, your family has, and you're a mama to all of them. But so take us back a little bit, if you would. Like, have you always been this way? I know early on you had a word about missions, and it seems like you're living that out now.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to hear about that.
Yeah. When I was younger, probably teenage age, missions was something always on my heart.
Was that something like, were your family in missions? Was your family in missions?
No, I think I probably first really heard about and understood. I guess probably the first. I was probably in junior high, and my friend was like, "My youth group is having we're going to Abilene, and we're doing this." I don't know. I just went along for the ride.
Kids that are like, I think I'm in niche,
Yeah.
junior high-ish age, that were like, I just want to go to the mission field. So obviously your parents were some sort of religious. They went to church at some level. You went to church from early on. Okay.
Yeah, I grew up obviously in church all the time, and my parents led worship and all that kind of stuff. And, you kind of live the church kid life. You're just there, and you sure this is fine and whatever. But eventually
Jesse, I forgot about that. You and Jesse.
Okay, here's a funny story for all you out there. You ready?
Yes.
So Jared's wife, Jessie, and I grew up together. We've known each other since I was probably an infant, and she was 2, I think, when we met. And so at the time, her dad was the pastor of the church that we go to, and my parents led worship. And I just remember, and she'll tell you the same story, just sitting on the pews after church, our parents talking and talking and talking, waiting. And we would say, man, someday we'll get our own cars. And then after church, we can just get out of here. We don't have to sit and wait for these people to stop talking. Because our parents would get together at each other's house or whatever. It'd be like midnight, and they're still talking about Jesus stuff. And you're like, come on, you're sleeping on the floor or whatever. All that. So we grow up, we get our cars, we can do our own thing. And guess what happens? Jared. Her husband is the pastor, and my husband is the worship leader, and we're still sitting there on Sundays
Kids are saying,
waiting for you guys to stop talking. And we always say, boys, you can talk at lunch. Come on, just stop. Let us go home.
I did Judah yesterday at church, and he drapes himself over Dad's lap, and he's like, please. And Jason goes, if you ask me to go home, so help me.
They're always coming up to me, and they're like, Mom, can we go home yet? I'm like, that's your dad's department. You could talk to your dad. That's awesome. We love it.
So anyway,
junior high.
So you grew up in all of that.
All that. In junior high, I don't even remember which friend and what church. I don't think I'd ever been to the youth group before, but their youth group was going to this conference in Abilene at Hardin Simmons, I think. Okay. There was like a youth something, right? And so I'm like, they asked me like the week of or so, I don't know. I'm like, sure, I'll go. So I go. And that's where I first heard about missions. It was, I guess, the theme of the conference. I remember everybody was put into a group, and there were big flags. It was a whole thing. But it was interesting because I don't know that I really felt like, oh, missions, I want to be a missionary at that time. But whatever happened at that conference kind of started me into wanting to know about this for myself. Because really, you can grow up with your parents' faith all day long, but you have to have it as your own, or you won't really be in it. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm sure you've had your own experience. Oh, yeah. I hope you've had your own experience. You better. You're my pastor. But anyway, I remember there was a guy at the time at Grace doing like the older, there was like, I don't know if it was a Bible study or children's church. Before church started, all the older kids would meet together, me, Jesse, Lexi, some of the others. And he would kind of talk through, and you're always just sitting there so bored. But as soon as I got back from that conference, all of a sudden I was like listening and like asking these questions. And I remember I started like asking questions a couple weeks. And after a couple weeks, Dave came in and he was, they're all, and so we're talking. And then right after that, we moved to Phoenix. So, Phoenix, bigger city, a lot more different kind of church, different denomination a little bit. And so you hear a lot about missions, and I was really interested. And so that first year we lived in Phoenix, I think it was the first year, YWAM came and visited our church, which is Youth with a Mission. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to do it. So I started saving up my money, and I did. I went, I did a summer program. It was like a 3-week program or something. Went to the YWAM place out in Tyler, and then we went down to Mexico, and I loved it.
Oh, so you went.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not overseas, but yeah, Mexico.
That's
and
far enough.
Yeah. I loved it. I was 14 or something. I loved it. I wanted to go back and do all of it. Well, our church...
Is that where you learned Spanish?
No. I did not learn Spanish.
You didn't know Spanish?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
So, by the way, I am not fluent in Spanish. This is a disclaimer.
You're saying that you're the only one who knows what anybody...
I know some
Spanish
things. Yeah, I know some
things.
I had a great Spanish teacher in high school, okay? So, she was wonderful. Different story, different podcast. Okay. So not long after that, our church partnered with a pastor that they knew that lived down in Mazatlan. And so we would go every summer, spend a week or so out there. And I loved it. And then we'd do mini trips in the spring sometimes.
What did you love about it?
I don't know. That's a good question. I just always felt drawn to it, but it was something about I love to travel. I don't do much traveling. I have a lot of kids. But I love that traveling has always been something I love, but there's something about just reaching people that may not otherwise know about Jesus. I grew up in Bible Belt, and I remember when we moved to Phoenix, I was a freshman in high school, and new school, new everything, new city. And I get to talking to somebody, and I'm like, oh, yeah, what church do you go to? And they're like, looking at me crazy. What do you mean, what church? I'm like, well, everybody goes to church. Like, come on, I'm from Stevensville. Everybody goes. And no, they're like, no, I don't go to church. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't understand. Even, like, at least Easter's and Christmas, you go. No, that was a culture shock a little bit. But I think that growing up in a place where at least we have heard of, there was something, I think, so enticing for me to be able to share what I knew, to be like freedom and love and all things with people who maybe had never heard. So it's something that I was always very excited to do and very passionate about. So
we went, that's around 14 or so. And then, somehow you end up, I don't know, somehow you end up with an organization, you go off to college. I don't want to skip through too much. So did anything?
Well, one thing that happened was on the first time we went to Mazatlan, I met Jason.
Now, I'm going to unearth a little controversy in the family.
All right,
I
I'm
do
ready.
happen to know a little bit about this point in time.
Say it.
So you meet Jason, and if I ever want to antagonize my best friend in the entire world,
you do want to.
Yeah, I like to poke him around this area, and it's that he believes that you met. I don't know if he was from the nation of Mexico, but a Mexican fella, Hispanic fella, on one of these trips. And that's what really got him engaged in the relationship, because he was getting ready to lose you to some guy. Like, because I tease him like Pablo or whatever.
Yeah,
Sorry
for
for stereotyping anybody who's Hispanic, but it's the way I tease my friend.
Yeah.
Anyway,
He needs to be teased.
yes,
so
he teased
it's real.
relentlessly.
Yeah.
So tell me about, what was his name? If you could recall.
Yeah.
I always say that because we've teased him enough at this point that you might recall the story.
Yeah. So I guess it was the first trip. So basically the church that we met with had a bunch of young, like youth and young adult students that would go with us and do all the things together. We went to the dump we went to a lot of different churches, different places, street ministry, like all these things. And so you become friends with all the people. And I guess there was some kind of interest between me and this guy.
This is so you. Like, you're in your zone because you're at the dump and you're doing street ministry stuff and you're out there
not paying attention to anything else.
And there happens to be some dude who's interested in you, and he ends up in some pictures that y'all bring back, and that seals the deal for Jason. And I don't think he's ever left your side ever since.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that I don't know that Jason and I even talked at all the first trip that we went on. So Jason's was from another church and another youth group, and our youth groups partnered up to do the trip. And I don't know
this would have been a little after that. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know that he and I actually ever even talked the first trip. But the next year, when we started doing the meetings for the second year of trips, is when he and I connected. So
there we go.
Anyway.
And that's when it all got spicy, Jason. Almost lost your boo. So you're running missions. Meet Jason out in Phoenix. Huge pickup because you're not in Phoenix still. So what had you leave Phoenix and kind of keep on that mission theme, if you would?
Yeah. Well, in Phoenix, I hear about this program called Christ for the Nations, which is located in Dallas, literally 2 hours from where I live.
Just pause for a second. So, like, you're a regular high school student.
Yes.
I don't know, regular. You're a high school student. You're doing your thing, and then like, don't you want to go to college? Don't you want to like get a trade? Why Christ for the Nations is very specifically Christian. You're going to be that's missions. Why? If I was to say like an organization, YWAM, Christ for the Nations, they're going out there somewhere to the broken and the downtrodden, and they're going to reach them for Jesus. So. You're not a normal high school kid.
Yeah.
Did you think about going to college?
I don't know. There was never anything that I felt passionate about. Like, I think growing up, there was, people say, I want to be a doctor, or a vet, or a lawyer, or a teacher. I never had any of that. And I think there were times in my growing up years that I was like, why do I not have any jobs that I want to do? I don't know. I don't know. So, but I always felt called to Jesus stuff.
Oh, had a lack there.
No. Well, and I think even from an early age too, and this kind of plays into everything that I do now, but I always felt a special place in my heart for the family unit, women. That's always been something I've felt very passionate about. In fact, when I went to Christ for the Nations, you had to choose kind of like a
Let me
track.
Pause you for a second.
Yes.
I mean, no disrespect towards Christ for the Nations.
Yeah.
When I say it's not a college, I meant the traditional term.
Yeah. It's not an accredited school.
And I don't even know if it is or not. I just know that whenever I think of Christ for the Nations, I think you are going there to win souls or like reach people.
Yeah, it's true.
Let your hair catch on fire for Jesus. It's not necessarily you're going there to become an engineer.
Right. No, they don't have the regular. So there's, I think, I can't remember, 5 different tracks that you choose. And I had a hard time because missions was one of the options, but I really felt a deeper desire for family, the family unit. And they had one called Children and Families Ministry. And I think the point of that track was like children's ministry, like at a church, you're the children's pastor kind of thing, which isn't why I went into it. But the classes that they offered, were kind of what I wanted, which is more that like the family unit, the restoration, the home. Like that's always been something that I've been very passionate about.
Why?
I don't know.
Why is it in there?
I don't know. I know that it's something that a desire that the Lord's put in my heart for sure. I don't know. I mean, I know that, and I didn't know this at the time, but now know that especially in our society, the family unit is something that's not valued. And I know the Lord set it up for a reason. There's a function and a purpose to every aspect of it. Not that the wife needs to stay home and the whatever, like, not even that, but like the connection of and the leadership of a husband as the leader of the household, and the woman who is passionate about nurturing her family and children and sustaining that. And there's just not, it's not valued anymore. We value busy and rush and, everybody just doing what they want to do. Or, I mean, now I know there are situations where people are single mothers or single fathers, but I think there's not a drive to try to bring it to the father and be healed and work through hard things. And we just have a really big need for people who are willing to step in and like teach people about that, I think.
It's weird how that went from something that I would have assumed a couple of years ago was just commonplace. Like, of course, being raised in the Bible Belt, that, like, of course you have a nuclear family and that's like the center of how everything functions. But over the past couple of years, how under attack, like purposeful from, the pit of hell kind of a thing.
Yes.
That it is relentlessly bombarded. The husband's role, the wife's role, the kid's role, the fabric of everything is kind of torn at in the image of God, and now it's reflected male and female in a household. So how did, speaking of male and female and husband and wife type relationship, you met Jaso, which is what we call your husband.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you met Jason in 14-ish, right? That we said?
Well,
mission trip?
Probably, maybe 15, 16.
15, 16-ish, okay. And then you ditch him and go to CFNI?
Mm-hmm.
Or were y'all not dating? Or
we were dating, yeah.
Okay.
We started dating...
You're welcome.
I was 16, going on 17. He was 17.
Oh, okay, my goodness.
Stop. No, but probably around that time.
That is a deep, deep like for some people out there, but I hope that there's someone who gets it, because if people only knew, and we're not even diving into this because we only get to go 30,000 feet with the guest, but you have a musical gift and talent. You said that your parents were worship leaders and now you guys are worship leaders. But what most folks don't know is, like, your whole family is so incredibly musical, and you're probably right now, until Kate comes along, you're kind of the pinnacle of what musical capability is in that family. It's so amazing. You are literally like that character from that movie. You are walking song.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
No, but we were probably 16, 17-ish when we started dating. And after I graduated, you're singing.
Fellows I meet may tell me I'm sweet, and willingly I believe.
Hey, you've got a career in this, for sure. Quit this whole podcast thing. Just go be a singer. You've got this. I saw the dance moves, too.
You saw the moves? Hopefully they're cut off by then.
Anyway, so I ditch him and go to CFNI, and he did not take it well.
So was it because, and I'm naturally curious as your friend, was it because he wasn't husband material? Did you ditch him because of the call of God upon your life? Did you ditch him, like, I think y'all were fairly serious when you were in Phoenix, correct?
I look back and maybe wish I had made different decisions, but I think I had a fear of the fact that it was going to be a long-distance relationship and feeling like that was not sustainable and trying to save myself heartache beforehand. And the whole time I was in love with him, so
yeah.
He's
hard not to love him.
He's cute. I like him. So, no, I think my logical... I mean, I was the kid in high school that's like... And this sounds horrible, okay? But, like, why be friends with any of these people? I'll never see them again after high school. Just be realistic. Like,
whoa.
Sorry. I had some friends, but...
This is such a juxtaposition of the woman who is after the poor and the downtrodden because nobody sees them, and then the high school friends that she's walking with is like, I'm not again, so why should I care about you?
I didn't say not care about, just not... Anyway, everybody's got their issues. Jesus is healing me from mine, okay? Just
Oh my
don't
goodness.
hold it against me.
Okay, so you pick a track, CFNI, you leave that worm, Jaso
Oh,
behind. No?
not a worm.
Okay.
He's sweet.
Love of your life, but you don't know it yet.
Yeah, true.
You head out, go to Dallas,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you CFNI it up.
I do.
What happens?
Uh,
Did you launch to missions? Did you end up in Mexico? Did you go to India?
I did. Well, no, I didn't go to India. I did go to Mexico.
You kept
We
going.
had. They. I don't remember the program back then, but there was opportunities to do mission trips during the summer. I think you had to do something over the summer. They had lots of different opportunities, but obviously missions was where I was going to go. So we did. I think it was like a 3-week trip around different parts of Mexico. Loved it. It's the best. So, and I think I thought I would end up, on the mission field in a different country because that to me was what missions look like. And I haven't lived the end of my life yet, so who knows what'll happen. But
over yet.
yeah. So, when I was about to graduate, I had no idea what I was going to do. But Jason's stepmom called me one day and said, and we were a few months out from graduation, and said, "Hey, I know you're graduating soon, and I work for this program called Teen Challenge, which is a drug and alcohol rehab." And she goes, "We have this position opening, and I really think you'd be perfect." And the director, I don't remember what they called them, but the director and his wife, the wife leads it, they're going to be out in Dallas for a something. And do you want to meet up and do an interview? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to do that, actually. I don't really know what I'm doing, so okay, sure. So I went and met with her and got the job. And so after I graduated, I moved back to Phoenix, which my parents were still there at the time, too, in Phoenix. But, after I moved back, they left, a few months after. Because they're like, Danielle's here, we're out. I'm just kidding.
Did you reconnect with Jaso?
Yes, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think once... I don't know. I think my heart was always inclined towards him. And I think the Lord definitely had purpose in us being together. Soulmates.
There you go.
So, yeah. So moved back to Phoenix and started working for Teen Challenge. And that's kind of where I got my first taste of nonprofit work and faith-based. I mean, since then, other than the bookstore, which was run by a faith-based woman, right? Okay, so it was faith-based. But other than that, every job I've had has been in a Christian program environment, that kind of thing. It's always just something I'm drawn to. I want to be in a place where people are talking about Jesus, so I love it.
Well, I suppose that is. I mean, that is a theme throughout your entire life.
Yeah.
You want to be around people who are talking about Jesus, and you want to be sent to the folks who need him.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's just, I don't want to be anywhere else, nothing else has appeal. There's places where you can make money and there's places where you can get achievements and do all the things. And there's not any appeal in that. I just want to be in the place where Jesus has me. I mean, obviously people who go and do those things can also make that faith-based and that can be their mission field. And I don't know. I've just always wanted to be in the place where Jesus was. So
you were in Teen Challenge,
mm-hmm.
And from what I understand of the stories that I've heard about those years, you did extremely well. I know you can't say that about yourself, but it was fun for you.
Oh, I loved it.
And there was a lot of impact there, and they hated to see you go. So why did you leave?
Well, Jason and I got engaged and got married.
Well.
So we got married, and as soon as we got engaged, he started talking. He's like, he said, I've seen a change in the person you were before and the person you were after you were at Christ for the Nations. And I want to go there too. So we didn't tell anybody really. I don't think we told anybody until later, closer to our wedding, or maybe even after our wedding. But we planned as soon as we got married in September, we planned to leave December, January-ish and go to Christ for the Nations. So we went back. So he went to school and I got a job at Christ for the Nations in the admissions department. got to talk to people about Jesus. So
It never ends.
yeah, I love it. I love it too. So
Start having babies. You'll start migrating your way back towards Texas. I know we only have a 30,000-foot view of your story, but I definitely want to keep on the mission thing because that keeps popping up over the course of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Do your babies? I'm just curious about. And your babies range from like, what's Claire?
5.
She's 5 to 13,
Kate
nearly
will be
14
on Saturday.
5 to 14.
Yeah.
Man, do they know what you do?
The ones that are old enough, yeah.
Do they understand what you do?
Probably not fully yet. I think there's Kate probably does. But yeah, maybe not quite yet. I try to introduce things to them at the appropriate times and the appropriate ages. So I don't know. Judah may have some inklings, but Kate definitely does know. We've talked through some of that.
There have been some times over the years where I think if you were given total and complete freedom to choose whatever you wanted, you guys would have, I think the kids say, yeet. You guys would have yeet or yote yourselves across the earth, to go live in a foreign nation and raise your family there and be like in what you viewed in the past as traditional missions. Why didn't you?
Well, the funny thing is, when Jason and I first got married, that wasn't something that was on his radar. I mean, he knew about missions and stuff, but I don't know that he necessarily wanted to go and move to some other country at the time. And so I think there was some frustration in the beginning for me because I'm like, let's go. I'm ready. We got married. Here we go. Right.
Yeah. Called to. Let's go.
But I remember I just began to pray. I was like, Lord, if you want me on the mission field, you can change the heart of my husband. And if you don't, then I'm good where I'm at, So I really laid it down. I think there were probably a year or two of maybe like, oh, I need to go. But laid it down and knew at the time that if the Lord wanted me there, my husband's heart would be changed and we'd go. So
that was a fun thing to watch because I didn't know that you were praying that, but I was in that time frame, so I got to meet you guys somewhere around that zone. And Jason and I went to a conference. You were there as well. We took the youth, and he had a word. It was a kind of a season of time where he started getting a whole bunch of words from the Lord about like missions and like the future, like kind of some prophetic words of what you guys would eventually walk in. And a lot of that is around, missions and fathering and mothering nations. And
that wasn't at the youth conference. That was at, do you remember you and me and Jared? No, me and Jason and you two went to that Heart of Prophecy conference. Do you remember that?
That was?
Because I have the recording still from it.
Oh, hey, share some of those with me. I'm curious.
I know. I have to listen to it again. I have to listen to it again. I know there was a lot of really good words. It was amazing. But I remember he said, you have or you will have a father's heart for a nation to Jason. And I was like, awesome. Yes. Back in.
Right. So, I just think it's funny that he put that on. He being God put that on your husband's heart. Well, at least put it in his path, and that became a part of his heart. And it's just funny how that happens with us. And then he began to look for every opportunity. He was talking to me about Nigeria. He had some, I think it was Nigeria. He had some connections in Africa for a while, and he was like, "We're just gonna go."
The funny thing is, I've never been overseas. He's been 3 times overseas, and I'm like, what the heck? I gotta travel. Gotta do it. Let me go. What do they say? Let me cook.
Let me cook.
The kids say.
I think that's what the kids say.
Well, the interesting thing too, I think, in all that is, and I think this can be difficult, or an area that the Lord wants to deal with in women and submission to your husband, all the things. It's very controversial. But I know, I don't have a doubt that when I put something at the feet of the Lord and say, I'm laying what I want, I'm laying it down. And if it's your desire, you'll let my husband know and we'll go through this together. So, I mean, there's a couple, like, when I started having babies, I wanted to stay home. I didn't want to work. I wanted to be home with my babies. And that was never a thing, because I think one thing that Jason kind of was walking through, especially at that time, was finances. And we got to make sure we have enough, have enough, have enough. And, the Lord, I was like, all right, Lord, I'm done trying to fight this, like, and try to make it happen in my own. And if you want me to be at home, you're going to have to do what you do best. And sure enough, it wasn't long after that he's like, yeah, I really feel like you're supposed to stay home. And it didn't make, we did the budget, didn't make sense on paper. But we walked into that, and the Lord provided every time, even with our kids. I mean, we were going to have 2 kids. I always thought maybe 3, maybe 4. That's kind of where I was shooting for. And he was like, 2 kids, that is it. That's all I want. And so I remember having our second, knowing this is it. This is all we're going to have. I'm okay with it. And I hadn't even left the hospital. I had this feeling, and it wasn't baby fever. It wasn't anything. I was just like, I feel like there's another one. Like, I feel like we're not done. And I was like, Jason's never going to go for that. Like, he wants 2, and that's it. And so I'm thinking, I've just had a child, all the hormones, all the things. I'm going to give it time. It's probably nothing, And I went months, and I could not shake this feeling of like, there's supposed to be another one. And so I finally told the Lord, Judah was 3 months old. And I told the Lord, I said, if you want us to have another kid, you're going to have to talk to Jason, because like, he is not going to go for it. And so finally I get the courage. I bring it to him. I said, listen, whatever decision you make, I'm okay with it. But I just have had this feeling, and it won't go away. And I've been waiting, and it's been 3 months, and I still have it. And he said, I've been feeling the exact same way. And I was like, okay, Lord, you're doing it. So it's interesting, because it can be so difficult. I think we feel like we need to force our way in, or make it happen, or figure it out on our own terms. But when we're willing to lay our desires at the feet of Jesus, he hears it and he sees it. And not that we always get what we want, but we get what's perfect for us at the time and in his timing. And
Why do you think that is so offensive to women? You say it's fairly controversial.
mm,
I think guys get around it. I think we're kind of used to it, and you could say it's a what's it called? Like a masculine, toxic masculinity or something. The patriarchy. Because I think you get put in a box of being barefoot and pregnant, or being a 1950s wife all the time. But if anybody peek behind the veil of y'all's relationship, nothing is further from the truth. It's kind of like my wife. Like, she'll definitely say, hey, I submit to my husband. He's the leader of the home, that sort of thing. But if you understood our relationship, it makes no sense for me to make any decision without the full support of my wife. Like,
yeah. Well, I think
much the same. That's why I bring that up.
Yeah. I think there are a couple key issues in this whole conversation, in society. The first is that there have been many examples of men who have taken and used their authority and brought harm and hurt, people. And I think that as a result, women have decided, well, it's my right. If I'm not going to protect myself, nobody will. If I'm not going to look out for my own interests, nobody will. My husband sure won't, because so-and-so, and he, and I think it can be easy, especially if you're not walking with the Lord. I think it can be real easy to say, I have to defend myself. I have to protect myself. I have to make sure that I get what I need, But when you're able to walk in a relationship with the Lord, you know that I'm not in charge of that. Like, and there are times where I fight it sometimes, where it's like, I need to make sure, and then you forget, oh yeah, you're going to provide it. If it's what I need, you're going to provide it, Obviously, disclaimer, there are some situations where you need to make sure, if you're not safe, find a person, make sure you're safe, right? But I think overall, like,
I'm not sure this would work if I thought it wouldn't.
If you know Jesus,
it really. Just explain this to somebody. I do it to the kids a lot. The kids being they're young adults now, not the kids, but young adults entering into married relationships, and they're bringing on kids and whatnot. And it's really like, guys, you're the best people I know. But if Jesus isn't at the heart and core
Yeah.
and center, not just like, oh, we tip our hat to Jesus, we're Christians. Like,
Yeah.
if he's not informing your daily lives, I don't have much hope for this whole
Yeah.
thing. Like, no offense, but you two, not you guys,
Yeah.
y'all are cruising in this, but the two of you are not going to find common ground.
Mm.
Maybe you will temporarily, but you have deep-seated issues that you're not even aware of.
Yeah.
They're going to eat at this relationship
Yeah.
unless Jesus goes, no, not that one. Let's
Yeah.
eat this.
Yeah.
Set that aside regularly.
Yeah.
Like even in our types of relationship, like yours and
Yeah.
Jason, mine and Jesse, like it is. I would say I'm hard pressed to notice a week that goes by that I'm not having to deal with something in the midst of our relationship that I'm either having to lay down, turn over to the Lord, get healed from, get forgiveness for. I mean, it's a weekly occurrence, and I'm married to a queen who does nothing wrong.
Yeah, she doesn't.
Yeah.
She didn't tell me to say that, but
Well.
it's true.
Yeah. You're a good friend. But if you're not in one of those types of relationships, I could definitely see how you might want to say, hey,
You have to fend for yourself, I guess.
yeah, but maybe like I think if I was and again this is life, this is the world that we live in, it happens. But if I was recommending to a man or to a woman, doesn't matter, I would ask them to get in those roles anyway, and kind of what you've done in your relationship and what we all do is say, God, would you please change my heart so that I can be a submissive wife, I can be a considerate husband, so that I can hear, if I'm the husband, I can hear the concerns and the pain and the stuff that's going on in my wife, and I can address it appropriately rather than out of my own flesh.
Yeah.
Or if I'm a wife, I can say, can you show me what needs to be broken inside of me so that I can be submitted to my husband?
Yeah.
And present to him something that, like, when you come back to Jason, he goes, something changed in you,
Yeah.
and I want that to happen in me.
Yeah. And I think a key component to that, too, is when I laid it down at the feet of Jesus, it wasn't like, Jesus, you better make this happen because this is what I need.
Mm-hmm.
I think in my heart, I was willing to say, if this is not what you want, I give it to you and you're in charge of it. And so if I have to lay this down forever, if we're, never going to be in another country on the mission field the way I thought it was, then I know that that's where I'm supposed to be. Like, I want to lay that down. And you don't necessarily always want to, you kind of still want it to happen, but if your heart is willing to say, this may not look the way I thought it was going to look, but I trust that you're going to lead, guide, and direct my family wherever you want us to be, then so be it. Like, because that's the thing, I think at the end of the day, I can make all the plans and ideas and things that I want to have happen, but if the Lord's got something different in mind, I want that 100%. Like, it's better. It's better. For sure. So,
give the encouragement, just while we're on the topic, for a wife who might be in that situation.
Yeah.
Some nuggets that you've learned over the years that might like bring some foundation for their...
Well, my first piece of advice, this isn't really as much for the wife because you can't force it, but the most important thing I feel like is when you have a husband who you're submitting to an authority, and especially if you know Jesus and everything, him having somebody that he can submit to and be under authority in is super, super important. And it may not be like a boss or a pastor. It may be a friend that hears the Lord and is willing to walk alongside him, and they can check. You and Jason are the best of friends. And when he's not okay, I know that before long, he'll be coming to talk to you because you guys are willing to hear for each other and pray for each other and vent to each other and lead each other to the Lord, And I think that it makes my job in submission so much easier when he has somebody that he can do. And you can't force a guy to go and find the people.
It's weird that the Lord works that out, though. If I was to encourage a woman in that position, especially with the church, I try to explain it to the ladies, and they don't get it because it sounds so much like toxic masculinity. But like, if you will just submit to your husband, the Lord will work it out.
Oh, yeah.
He
It's
really
true. He
will.
always does.
If you have a timeline and you know exactly what that's supposed to look like, he's probably going to make you crush that timeline and that exact picture of what it needs to look like before he deals with
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
But if you will truly from your heart submit to your husband,
Yeah.
God will put somebody's in his life or himself. You know, the scariest thing in the world is to fall into the hands of an angry God. If your wife, I was trying to make this example because I see it kind of linearly. If the wife will submit to the husband and he's out of sorts, if the wife is in alignment, if you put God at the head, the ultimate head of things, if she's in alignment and the husband is out of sorts and he's abusive, he's not getting it, he's off into pornography, he's doing his own thing, he's neglecting the kid, whatever that is, if she's in alignment, God will deal
He does.
with that husband.
Well, because the thing is that, and it's the whole umbrella thing of, covering and covering and covering, right? Is like my ultimate covering, like obviously I got my husband, you're the pastor, so you're next, and all the way up, leaders and elders and whatever. My ultimate covering is the Lord. And it's hard sometimes, but I have to walk in that and trust that He will be my defender, that He will protect, that He has my best interests at heart. And I've seen it time and time again where there's situations where there's either, different opinions on a decision to be made or whatever. And maybe I don't agree with the way he's going, but I'm willing to submit because I've seen it. And I think I always tell my kids, the more you practice, the better you get. But it's the same with hearing the Lord and walking in that, or submitting even when you don't feel like maybe this is the right way to go or the right decision for our family. Like I've seen time and time again where the Lord is faithful to protect, to keep us, in the decision we made. We put the budget on paper. Okay, Danielle's staying home. Is this going to work? No, technically it's not exactly going to. And He's come through because we talk about it a lot. Courageous obedience. The Lord values and honors courageous obedience. When you feel like it's the Lord calling you into something and you're willing to step out, you get it checked. You ask all the people, ask your pastor, hey, does this seem right? Yeah, okay, we're good. You move forward in it, even when it's scary and hard, the Lord honors it. Like He really does. And I think I've lived long enough and had enough of those kind of experiences to see, like, the Lord protects. He keeps us every time. But it's the same for a woman who's, maybe even scary to submit and say, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's the right decision to make. And the important part is, as the Lord grows and develops your husband too, He turns His heart towards you. Like He turns your husband's heart towards you, and He values your opinion. And it's not like He just makes decisions willy-nilly. We always talk through stuff. He wants to know because He's seen that the Lord will give me wisdom when He needs, or give him wisdom when I can't see. And, we work together, really. It's not, He is my authority, but it's not like He holds that against me. Like we work hand in hand, side by side, to seek the Lord together. And sometimes I say, I don't think so. And He's like, oh, we're going for it. And I'm like, okay, all right, Lord, you have to defend and protect and keep us. And it can be difficult when you're not walking with the Lord, like you said, day by day. So
I think the best example of what you just said, you guys actually do, your family does. I watched Jason was being encountered by the Lord. He kept on meeting him, like setting a table for him, kind of a thing. Kept on meeting him at this table imagery where Jason could process his emotions. For a period of time, it's like the Rev table, but then it was like personally, just what do you have going on, son? Like, I want to talk to you, kind of a deal. And so he would just kind of vomit out his emotions, and he's a pretty emotional guy. He's a 4 in personality, so he wants to go to the depths, or 4 or 5, whatever.
Yeah.
He wants to go to the depths of all the emotions and feel all the feels, and then come back. So he definitely likes to do that. But the Lord set a place for him to do that and process some of his thoughts and some of his inklings and those types of things. And he began to get so like healed and energized from the whole thing. He came home to you and he had this idea of like, or maybe the Lord told him, I can't remember how it goes exactly, but he wanted to set a table for you. And he started this several years ago, I want to say at this point. And from his perspective, it has seemed to be beneficial. Is
Yeah.
that true?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think before the Lord led him into this setting a table for me,
What does that mean before you?
mhm. Yeah. So basically, when Jason sets a table for me, it's a place where I can share all of my feelings and emotions without judgment. That sounds
A judgment or him getting upset or
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, for sure. That it's a safe space, right? It's a safe space where I can come and share everything without any input from him, I should say. Because I think in the past, and I won't, this is Jason's story to tell, but he had kind of an upbringing that maybe wasn't there was some manipulation and wasn't maybe emotionally supportive in all the ways. That's his story to tell, but I think he carried that into his upbringing throughout adulthood and then into our marriage and so our conflict between the two of us whenever we didn't agree or there was some kind of issue, as all married couples have, was very I quickly learned that there wasn't anything I could say that wasn't going to be twisted. And so I did a lot of shutting down in the beginning, especially of our marriage. I would just shut down, don't say anything because it'll get twisted and contorted and all the things. And I know I had my own issues. So this is not all, oh, Jason did this to me. But I had my own set of issues that I put on him. There was a lot of passive aggression. I wouldn't say what I mean, all these things, right? The Lord has done a lot of amazing healing. But I think part of this was him getting to a place where I felt safe to be able to share things, knowing that it wasn't going to be taken out of context, but I could actually share. And then before anything happens, we stop and pray and ask how the Lord wants to lead this, because it's hard. Sometimes I will, and we don't do table as much anymore because there's been a lot of healing, and I'm getting better at being able to just share things I feel without this special table, right? So it doesn't get pulled out as often because I've learned a lot. I've had a lot of healing in that, and he's learned a lot, I think, on his end of being able to wait for the voice of the Lord before we start digging into some of the difficulties of marriage. I'm sure you guys don't have any problems.
We don't have any problems,
so.
but I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
No, I've always thought that was such a cool thing that you guys do, that setting of the table. But I mean, it to your very point that you were making, like if the husband is seeking after the Lord, it's going to change his heart. God's going to start talking to him. He's going to start softening his heart towards his wife and direction and giving him creative ideas and how to, I mean, my own story, and I won't go into it because this isn't my podcast, but for the first 2 years of mine and Jesse's relationship, he had me say, "I'm sorry" to my wife every time we had an argument. And I knew I'm like, come on.
I mean, she's never wrong.
She's never wrong.
It's perfect.
Especially in those 2 years. She was never wrong. But there was something that needed to happen, and we didn't even realize it until later. But there was something that needed to happen in like her world and in my world about how we exchange with one another. And I don't think she'd ever heard. I love my father-in-law. I hope that I don't think she'd ever heard a man say, "I'm sorry, I was wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong." You know, this one's on me. Not that it wasn't, like,
Right.
It was the Lord saying, "Pause," and exchange to her, like,
Yeah.
maybe I'm dead right. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding and how this is being handled.
Yeah.
The emotions that are coming to the table. We will fix this together, rather than arguing over the issue. And something about that in the first 2 years really like catapulted our relationship and trust up to this day.
Yeah.
So he does that and
Yeah.
adjusting all that stuff. So I love that. I actually like the fact that people misunderstand y'all's dynamic because they see it as so hyper traditional in 1950s and like, you know, you're barefoot and pregnant in there cooking meals and staying at home. They totally, I think they underestimate. And this is a beautiful package about you and Jaso. Everybody underestimates you, and the Lord gets to like kind of allow them to have that thought, and then they fully meet you, and he fully reveals who he is in you guys, and it is impressive.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it's
don't
been
think I've
fun.
met a woman worth her salt that doesn't want either your relationship or your walk with the Lord.
Mm. That's cool.
I think it's pretty cool too. So you're
You
out
better back off. He's mine. No, I'm just kidding.
I think we both know he didn't do it.
Yeah.
I love my friend. He's an
Yeah.
amazing guy. He did not do it. His name is Jesus.
Jesus, for sure.
I
Yeah.
also know I love you. You're amazing, but Jesus did it.
It's not me, for
It's
sure.
not you.
Yeah.
I think the people who are involved in the trenches and constantly going before the Lord, I think
Yeah.
we all know that.
Yeah.
That equation. It's like, I am not,
Yeah.
but he's pretty cool.
Well, I think there's one interesting aspect too, and I don't remember the name of the book. Is it called Love and Respect? Have you read it?
Don't think so.
I had to read it for one of my marriage and family classes, right? But basically the premise is he kind of opens up the book. It's a Christian book, and but it's about relationships, husband and wife, and he talks about, okay, you guys all know the Bible verse about men love your wives as Jesus loved the church, or and what does it say next? Women love your husband. No, it doesn't. It says women respect your husbands. And he talks in this book about the way that the Lord has designed men and women differently. Women need to feel loved. Men need to feel respected. And as women, and it's kind of similar idea or premise, I know you're familiar, but you out there, the love languages, yes, where we try to give, like as a woman, I try to make sure my husband feels loved. That's not what's going to fulfill him. That's not the way the Lord designed him. And so he doesn't feel respected because we're not trying to give him respect. We're trying to give him love, right? He doesn't feel respected. And so he doesn't love us well, but he tries to show respect, and that doesn't do anything for it, and so it's this whole, he talks about the cycle and all the things. I think he calls it Love Dance or something. Anyway, interesting book if you want to read it. But
I know my father-in-law has read it because he's recommended many points out of that.
Yeah. But I think that was very eye-opening for me. And at the time when I read it, I remember shooting off a text to Jason that basically was, hey, I just need you to know that I respect you for this. And that was like, whoa, what happened to my wife? Like, this is incredible. So I think knowing the way that the Lord designed us differently, the way women's brains function, work, operate, the way men's, I think can hold a lot of pieces for the dynamic between the two of us. And I think the submission piece, as difficult as it may be sometimes, is the ultimate form of respect,
It is.
And I think it lends in, at least in my experience, leads my husband to want to show love. How can I love you better? How can I love you more? And it's a good cycle.
I heard a guy add a piece to this. I didn't realize he was building off of that, but he said, in addition to just being, crazy, stupid, in love with your wife, which would be enough for her, also be a man of your word. And it rattled me a little bit. I mean, it's not like, of course, we all want to be men of our word, but if you tell your wife that you're going to do something, be the guy who completes it and finishes the task.
Yeah.
And that way, when she responds out of natural, appreciation, submission, it does something to that, like that submission meter.
Yeah.
They recognize, they respect.
Yeah.
They respect the work that you've put into it. And then it makes you go, oh,
Yeah.
you feel loved and
Yeah.
I just thought that was an interesting spin on, and not spin, but take on how you can pour your heart out for your wife. But if you add in as well, being a man who completes what you start.
Yeah.
If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Then you get the natural benefit of both whenever they naturally turn around and love you back.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's true. Well, the interesting thing, and I guess it was, I don't know how long ago, 2 or 3 years ago. So Jason and I, earlier on in our marriage, did youth ministry at the youths at our small church. And they grew, and as they grew, we kind of moved along with them, and they all graduated and they became young adults. So we worked on young adults ministry.
Just so for the people who always misunderestimate you guys, barefoot and pregnant inside the house. While you're barefoot and pregnant inside the house and cooking and cleaning.
It's a very interesting image.
I'm sorry. That it's probably a more masculine take on that's what the guys tease about.
Yeah, I know.
Jason, you guys are up that. I'm sure that's not how the girls respond to it.
We don't.
But when you guys were leading youth, the youth group was bigger than the church.
That is for sometimes.
A good period of time. They had tighter relationships than the rest of the church.
Yeah.
It was one of those like, whoa, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And they would bring their friends in off the street, and y'all would welcome them into your home.
Yeah.
And just be a family.
Yeah. Well, and you know, the Lord prepares you for all of it. I already had a heart for the downtrodden and the people who maybe didn't fit in, and family and all this, people that didn't have family that need to feel family. And Jason had his growing up and, was able to relate with a lot of the kids. So I hear youth pastors say all the time, oh yeah, my youth are different,
No.
You have a story. I won't go into all of it, but we tried to tell you guys, we're like, no. These ones are the ones that aren't accepted. Most of them, not all of them, but we had a handful.
Everyone says.
We had a handful that had gotten kicked out of other youth.
They were the roughest bunch of youths.
They were wild, yeah.
Seen.
Every youth has, you've got your kids that are going to cause issues, but we had some that, I don't know.
If you've ever, okay, let me give you a scenario. We take these kids, and I won't share the whole story because it's a bit rough.
Yeah.
We all know the guy, and he's beautiful. He's beautiful now. Jesus did amazing work in his life. But as the kids are going down to an altar call to receive something from the Lord, this guy is standing in the back going, "Gay," and we can't. And you laugh even to this day. Because he's such a sweethearted man.
Man, he is.
And we know he's all in for Jesus now, but at that time he was such
We found him in a park, skateboarding around.
He had a giant blue mohawk, I think, at that time. Or maybe that was one of the other ones.
Wild. I just remember coming, so we met him in a park. There was some other church-related event going on that night. I think it was like a Spanish outreach. There were delicious tacos. That's all I know. But anyway, we're like, hey, come get some tacos, random kid that we see now. And I remember we're like, oh, yeah, you should come to our group. And he's like, yeah. So we go back and tell our group, who already was, we say, hey, we met this kid. And they're like, what's his name? We tell him, what's his last name? Oh, no, he cannot come. He got kicked out of the school, and he went to the Excel school or
he was bad.
They got kicked out. Yeah, it was. But you got to have him on the podcast sometime. He's
I will invite him on the podcast sometime.
He's
we talk about a giant turnaround story, but
so much.
A family met him on his longboard at the park, and invited him in.
Yeah, so we kind of had a interesting group, and everybody has, but a lot of the students that we met with, they couldn't go to a Bible Belt church. This is not they. Had a lot of beliefs that, oh, well, that's sin, you can't, and you need to, and that's, again, it's riding that line between, we love the heck out of those kids. They will know that we are in their corner. Also, we don't condone the things and the choices and the way you decide to live your life. And I know all pastors in general, but especially youth, I think sometimes while you're still, your frontal lobe is not fully developed and you're trying to figure it all out, right? But a lot of the upbringing of not having parents or not having family to walk them through and show them the way. Anyway, I'm saying all that to say they kind of youth, young adults, and then as people do, they start getting married and starting families. And I just felt a couple years ago, because I remember being young and married, and I just remember, especially like with your wife, because she was one that will listen to the voice of the Lord and will hear. And I just remember, complaining about, oh, Jason, or whatever, whatever you do as a young married, but to a safe person, not just blabbing it to everybody, but and there was a point, and I don't remember exactly, but where she kind of addressed like, hey, we need to be mindful of the way we speak about our husbands, like, and all the things, right? And I just remember feeling like, oh, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, that you're right. That sounds bad. Like, why would I, Um, and I just had the Lord put it on my heart a couple years ago. Like, all these young people are getting married, starting families, and they may not know. Like, a lot of them don't have family that are going to teach them. Like, what does it look like? What does conflict look like in marriage? And how do you get through it? How do you make it out the other side, not ready to jump ship? Like, what does it look like to submit to your husband? What does it look like to, and so I remember coming to you and saying, hey, this is on my heart. I want to meet together. I don't want to make it a formal Bible study. I don't want to try to come up with stuff. I don't want to force. I just want to live life together. I want these young women to have a place they can come and maybe share the difficulties they're walking through in marriage, but have people that are on the other side, not just a friend that's like, oh yeah, how cootie, how dare he, and get it, girl. I didn't want that. I wanted them to have a safe place where they could come, and us to be able to say, well, me at the time, it was just me, me to be able to say, okay, yeah, well, let's talk through that and let's hear what the Lord is saying for that situation. And you were like, hey, if you're doing it for the girls, I want to do it for the guys. And so we now meet. We call it YAMS, which doesn't really make sense, but I really like the acronym. Young Adults Got Married. There's a G in there, but it's silent. Anyway, so we meet now, and yeah, that's how it. Well, because we had YAGs before, Young Adults Group, which did make sense. Anyway, that's not really why we're here.
The Yags and the Yammers now.
Yams. So anyway, but we meet together, and literally, I mean, some weeks us girls maybe just talking, and we just get together, we eat, we take turns because now there's little babies. And so we take turns. Whoever's at the Ogle's house gets fed and watches all the kids, and the girls or the guys, whoever's out, goes out and eats it. Anyway, but it's not a structured, like, okay, here's what we're learning, here's our Bible study. It really is very raw. And some weeks we just talk about, hey, I bought a new couch this week or something. And then some weeks it's mostly Jesus.
Well, I think you've got a real handle on ministry. I was talking with a young man a couple weeks ago. His podcast will have probably aired by the time this one comes out. But he was just saying, like, he's so tired of the normal. Not normal. It's not new for the sake of being new. He's just saying, I'm tired of going to a group of believers and hearing the same four things. Like, here's the scripture that we're going to read. Tell us any prayer requests that you have. And nobody ever gets real and does life together.
Yeah.
And I think you guys have an innate ability to be authentic and push towards, let's just do life. And that's given me, excuse me. You guys have actually reframed my philosophy on ministry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very purposeful. I want things to have tangible results. But the older I get, the more I can tell that what really matters is not that we specifically went after, a text of scripture and all the guys understood it and they came to a greater enlightenment because of it, and that's going to prepare them for better. The things that really matter are, I am struggling with my wife in this area, or I'm undone, or whatever it is, the hardships that naturally come with life, and having a group of men, women, whatever, that come alongside you and go, yeah. And maybe don't have the answers to all of it and go, yeah, I don't know, let's pray. Let's ask Jesus, because I don't have anything for you. I know what the scriptures say. Yeah. I know what good counsel says. I can give you both of those, but at the end of the day, it really, the change piece is Jesus. So let's see what he has to say about it.
Well, because yes, to all of it. I think when you're in situations where people are sharing their heart, I think the scripture naturally follows. The prayer naturally follows, because how else can we do it outside of that? But I think even too, he doesn't do the same thing twice always. Mm-hmm. Sometimes he does it one way, and sometimes he chooses to do it a different. And so I think it has to be informed by him. And there are situations where it's like, I don't know. So there's the whole philosophy out right now that's super popular about self-help, self-love, making sure. And
Self-care.
people think bubble baths and whatever. And there is purpose in it. I've learned a lot about, there's boundaries that need to be put in place, but it gets very extreme. I'm going to cut them off because they said something that I didn't like, or I'm going to, they hurt me, right? And people find it super important to follow these concepts because it is a way to protect yourself, right? And there is some wisdom in certain situations, but it has to be led of the Lord, because if it's not, I don't know. Like, this is so we were kind of talking through. I've talked about this counselor therapist that comes in and meets with us, and we do a lot of things that prepare us to meet with clients who are in bad situations or in whatever, and learning about the human brain. And so we were kind of going through a section on boundaries, which for some of them is super important. Like, they need to be they're not even in a safe place. Like, there needs to be some kind of structure and stuff. And I just, something wasn't sitting right with me. And I was asking the Lord over the course of I was like, something, yes, and what? Like, what is it? What is it that you want to show me or tell me to keep in mind? Like, there's something else, And I remember it was a Sunday and we're at church, and I was still asking him, like, Lord, I know this can be important and we have to use wisdom and we have to pray and ask, but what is the missing piece here? There's something missing. And he brought to mind the story of Hosea and Gomer. And for those who aren't familiar, Hosea was a prophet in the Old Testament, and part of his life included the Lord having him marry a prostitute. And in the story, he brings her and he's trying to take care of her and all the things, and she runs back into the old. And he brings her back, come on, come back. And she runs back into the old. And if that were happening nowadays, if there were a person here that felt like the Lord was calling him into whatever, right? The first time she runs out, no, you need to cut her. You need to protect yourself. She's hurting you, like all these things, right? But that wasn't the point of what the Lord wanted to show. The point was that this is what my people, Israel, are doing to me. It was an example. Not to say God's going to call anybody to marry a prostitute. I don't know. But that's the thing, is we don't know. We have to make sure that we are walking out, even if on the outside things don't look right and maybe somebody's hurt you. We need to be very mindful of, but what is the Lord asking us to do? Is he calling us to love 70 times 7? Is he calling us to turn the other cheek? I mean, because those are all things that he asks us to do. We have to use wisdom. We have to be surrounded with people who can hear and help discern, because, you don't want to get into too crazy. He does honor courageous obedience, but use wisdom that he's given us. But also, don't put him in a box. Don't put our Lord in a box. Like, he's not going to do it the way that looks right to the world. Mm-hmm. He's not going to always follow all the rules and boundaries that we feel like should be in place to keep us safe, So, I don't know. It's kind of a tangent, but...
No. So how do you feel like... do you feel like you're still involved in missions?
Yeah.
Do you feel like... I'm curious, after having listened to now your testimony / podcast, do you feel like your mission is to the family?
Yeah, absolutely.
I can see that. I can say both to the family of Christ in a whole, to your own personal family, and to restoring like kind of the sanctity of family in this world. I can definitely see that.
Yeah. It's something I've never really been able to explain, but I've always felt very passionate about, is the family. So
you think that was planted?
Yeah. What? Yeah. No, for sure.
If you're, if you're going into junior high and you've got this call to missions, and over the course of your life you realize that the missions is not necessarily the location, but it's the downtrodden and the lost and those who don't know what they're missing out on in this thing called family. And I can see at every turn you are engaging in that work, whether it be choices or whether it be in your church, whether it be in your own family and the extended family. I mean, I see you and Jason working on relatives. If anybody happens to watch this video, nobody is too far gone. Nobody is outside of the realm of reconciliation for y'all.
Yeah.
And it's truly inspiring. Well, 30,000-foot view, a little bit of your story. There's so much. And of course, we've known each other for many years now. So there's so much that we could have gone into today. But thank you for sharing a little bit of that. I like to do a little thing. I like to do a little thing at the end of all the podcasts, or at least for today, the landing spot for this particular podcast. Have to have you back on for sure. But I like to tell the person something I wouldn't normally tell you in day-to-day life. So I need to tell you some things, actually.
I'm ready. I'm ready to receive it.
I need to tell you, you are probably, and usually this is said in a negative way around like our church and our parts, and I don't mean it at all. You are probably the most gifted person, spiritually gifted person that I have ever met. I walk around spiritual giants. I mean, I have Dave, I've known Doug. They're all very gifted and they've honed a particular skill. But I would say on the whole, like well-rounded, you're probably one of the most gifted people I've ever met. I have no concerns whenever someone comes in to the church or our sphere when like we're out on the town or something like that, or we need to engage in some form of ministry. I have no concerns if you have like you have a word or somebody comes in and I'm like, oh, I don't know if we're going to get to that person. If Danielle got to that person, I know that person got everything that the Lord wanted for them, because you're not going to leave them until you've made the full deposit. And you don't even know how freeing that is. It's like, I know you're not recognized in the church. You're not one of the pastor, or formerly like part of the leadership team as far as pastor or elder or anything like that. But you're definitely a partner in ministry. And on one level, in that I know that I can always count on you, and it's done. It's the prophetic word's going to come. The word of knowledge is going to come. The prayer for healing is going to come. The life on life that person needs, they will be shepherded, loved on, cared for, no matter what, when they land in Danielle's hands. I can entrust you with literally anything. And that's a huge piece. I need you to know I love you like I love Jason. You're one of my best friends in the entire world. And I want to say thank you for the friend that you've been to my wife. Over all the years, you girls are not friends, you're sisters. Y'all are so eerily similar in some ways. It's scary, but you're enough different that you can kind of snap each other out of the funks that you both get into.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. You need somebody that can help you do that.
That's weird to say about my wife. Every now and again, she will get in a funk, and again, I don't have to worry about the counsel that Danielle gave my wife. I can always go, I'm with Danielle on that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it is such a huge blessing. I love the way that you're raising your babies. I love the way that you love your husband. I love the way that you love your Jesus. I love the way that you love on the church. And again, I can't help but prop you up in this. You're one of the most powerful spiritual entities on the face of this earth. And I love your humility. And I hope you never lose that. I hope you take exactly what I just said to you and you bring it to the feet of Jesus. But it is truly an honor to walk alongside you. It is very hard not to put you into everything because you're already busy and you're doing the family stuff. But it is very hard not to go, oh, I know a girl and she can handle it. So thank you for being my friend, and thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love you.
I have to tell you something.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you already know this, but you need to know this.
Oh.
If you know what I mean. Shorthand. You got to know it.
All right.
When you are around anybody, they come alive. Like the Lord has created you to enhance anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. Enhance their giftings, and they come alive around you. They feel alive in a way they don't normally. And the Lord has crafted you in that way. And you're the person everybody wants to be around because they love how they feel when they're around you, because the Lord uses you to excite their gifts, and the Lord has given you eyes to see to the core of somebody's being, and they feel seen and they feel known because the Lord is seeing them and knowing them through you. So thank you for being that for my family, for my husband. I couldn't do it without you. You're incredible.
No, thank you. It's fun.
Yeah.
I love you guys. So,
yay.
You're done and you're out.
Ding.